Hi guys, Igor here in the next episode of creating the best TODO app in Java. So let's go. What we have did last time? We have a TODO controller implemented that is serving to-dos from memory. It is implementing almost all endpoints, all endpoints that we need, but the get endpoint doesn't have filters, name and description filters. And for all of that, we have nice, beautiful integration test. Let's run it. Yeah, everything is passing. So what we should do next? We know that first we need to have two additional filters and the get endpoint. We also need to have validation when we are creating and updating to-dos, and we don't have that. But because everything is here in the controller where it shouldn't be, we should have this code in a different layer, different class. So let's work on that. So in the application package, actually you have to do controller, and I don't know if I have explained it, but basically my reasoning here was that application package is responsible for having things that are in the application layer, and the application layer in our case is the JSON RESTful API, and core package is concerned with the domain, with the business logic and so forth. So here we have domains and the things that are not concerned with the external world, so not with the serving RESTful API or getting data from database. So I would say that for the functionality that TODO controller is providing for each endpoint, we should have different class, and I would call it TODO service. And let's create maybe a skeleton of what do we need. So first we need to have a list of to-dos with two filters with the name and description. So let's create a method like that, let's call it to-dos, and it will accept two parameters, name filter and description filter. Let's return empty list for now. Then what do we need next? We need to have a create method. We need to be able to create to do. So create to do and returning string, so new ID, something like that. Then we have update to do with the ID and to do data, and we have delete to do method. Maybe what about naming to-do service, to-dos, so it's a to-dos, create, maybe let's just call it create, update, and delete. Yeah, something like that. Right now, what should be our next step? So we can copy this code to the TODO service class, but we know that we need to have a repository for that, because at the end we intend to serve to-dos from the database. So I would say that we should create a repository interface to delegate some of the requests there. So in the core package, let's create TODO repository like that. And what methods do we need? Here I would forward completely to the repository, so it can be basically the same, something like that, just to those. Okay, so let's create a field here, like TODO repository. Let's accept that in the constructor, like that, and here we will just call it, and filtering will be done completely in the repository layer. Okay, and the same will be with create, update and delete. With the create and update we need to do validation also, but right now we can either implement to the repository in memory or write tests. So maybe let's create tests. Yeah, let's create tests actually. So here I would create a package core. Let's create TODO service test, and we need TODO service, and we also need to have fake TODO repository, right? So let's create that fake TODO repository. Let's implement TODO repository without anything for now. Here we have fake TODO repository. Before each, as always, setup, and let's initialize the repository and the service. Okay, and let's start with the tests. So first we have that, it is just delegating the call to fake TODO repository. So how we can validate that? I would say that because we only validate that parameters are passed like below. So let's just create fields like that. Captured name filter, captured description filter, and let's maybe also create TODOs that we return. So like to return TODOs, something like that. Here we return them. Here we will assign captured arguments, and we need to have getters for these two fields, like captured name filter. I'm just following the getters naming conventions from Java records. So with the Java records we don't have this get prefix, we are just calling them like that, so without get. Okay, so here we have it, and we need to have a way to set to return TODOs field. So let's just do that. So set to return to those, and let's assign its value like that, and simple test to those given, say, given argument should forward, should delegate call to repository, because really we don't do anything fancy here, we're just delegating. So let's validate that. So what do we need here? Let's create a list of to-dos that we will set for to-do repository to return, like that. Oops, some description, and I don't know, like some name too. And right now we will say set to return to those, like that. Name filter, some filter, description filter, some filter 2, some filter 1, and yeah, we need to return. Our ID is along, actually. So let's change that. And here we will just say that we call the service to this, but we need to assert, validate the return value and captured arguments. So let's do something like that. Assertions, assert equals. Here let's call to this method with the name filter, description filter, and first was, I don't remember, first was expected and then actual. Okay, so expected are to-dos, actual is our method call, and here we also test that that name filter is the same as captured name filter, and captured description filter is the same as description filter. So we are validating return value and passed arguments. So let's see. Okay, everything works. Okay, so this method will work like that. We don't need to do anything here. All will be done in the repository layer. So I would move here. And here we need to validate to do, actually. So what do we need? We name can be null. It should have some characters, descriptions. Okay, so let's start with the test, maybe. Let's say that we create parameterized test for that, and we will say that create given invalid to do throws exception, something like that. Here we have to do invalid to do. Okay, and we will throw, I would say that we throw this exception with errors. So for that, I would say that we expect to throw our the best TODO App exception. Okay, and how we will validate that? We will say that actual exception, we assert throws, so that, okay, here we say that service create valid to do. We have actual exception, and right now we know that the type of exception is valid, as we expected, the best TODO App exception. And I would say that we should also check that we have the same errors in our exception. And that's all. I mean almost all, because we need to have method to return invalid TODOs. So let's create it invalid TODOs cases, maybe something like that. Okay, method source invalid TODOs cases. And here we have arguments, because we'll return invalid TODO and the best TODO App exception. Let's run it. It will fail because we don't have cases here. Okay, so let's start with the cases. First, invalid TODO is with the null name, I would say. And the best TODO App exception, what we should return here. We have API errors in the application package, so let's create errors in the core package. We have constants for errors here. That should be in that belongs to the domain, because API errors, we have things here like invalid body, invalid path param, which are really related to RESTful API. Here we will have errors related to business logic, so things like invalid name, for example. Invalid name. Yeah, invalid name, and let's also say, I don't know, valid description, valid description, okay. We return this to client, and the client needs to know that our rules are that name can be null, it should have these characters, and description is optional, but if provided, it should have less than 1000 characters. So let's go to our test again, and here let's say invalid name. Actually, we have a lot of these, so invalid name exception. And invalid description exception. Like that. Okay. So we have invalid name exception. And let's create a few cases. So name can be null. I would say also not empty. What else do we have? Okay, between two, so I don't know, one character, maybe add some description to increase entropy, and 50 characters. Okay, so too long name. Let's create too long name of some characters like that. Joining, and maybe also let's create too long description, because we know that we will need it. And we need recreate constants for that later on. Okay, some description, valid name. Okay, so next case will be too long name, and for description you have only one case, really, so only too long description. So let's just do that, and let's give it normal name, some name, and too long description. Okay, and it will fail, obviously, because we don't have it. But as I'm thinking about it, maybe we can return two exceptions at the same time. So you can say to the client that they have valid name and a description. I think that's a good idea. So let's create. Let's actually get back to that. Invalid description exception. Valid. Oh no. What I mean is something like that. So new to do with both invalid name and invalid description, and we will expect to have the best TODO App exception with two errors: invalid name and invalid description, like that. Okay, so let's implement it, guys. So create. We need a method to validate TODO. Right, so TODO. Maybe actually validate TODO data. Okay, something like that, and let's call it here. Okay, and here I would create errors array, and if TODO name null. Okay, let's create the constants for where we have it for that things. So something like static final minimum name length to static final minimum max description length 30, right? No, 50, and max description length 1000. This is max name length. Okay. And if the name is null, or okay, we need to strip it, I think. So if the name is null, or to name strip length is less than minimum name length. Okay, so maybe let's do something like that. Name length, and to do name null 0, and in other case let's strip it, so removing white spaces, and we have if name length is less than minimum name length, or name length, or greater than max name length, we say that we have invalid name. Invalid name is, it's a wrong name. Let's call it invalid to do name, like that. Invalid to do description. Okay, something like that. And we have description. So if description to valid, if description is not null, because it can be, and to do description length is greater than max description length, we will add to errors invalid to do description, like that. Okay, and what do we need to do here, guys? We need to throw an exception if we have errors. So basically, if errors size, or if errors is not empty, let's throw new the best TODO app exception with errors. All right, let's see. It works. Okay, so we have validation for all cases, I believe. So our next test is to create a to-do, right? Actually, we have a few cases here. So for creating to-do, at least two with description and without. So let's say parameterize test also. Here we have valid to-dos, and let's say create given valid to-do, creates it, or maybe should create it and return its ID. Okay, valid to-do, valid to-do. Okay, I'm thinking how we will get expected ID. Okay, let's see, because we don't have method to create to do here actually, so let's start with that. So we need to have create method here, like that. Okay, and here we will say maybe let's create two variables. So next ID, but before that, let's say to do data captured, create to do captured, create. Oh, really? Captured, create. Captured. Maybe captured. Created. To do. Or maybe just created to do. So created to do, next ID, and let's let's allow clients to set next ID actually. So next ID, okay. All right. So here we will say how we test this. Test it. It's very simple. We will have next to the ID, like I don't know, 11, doesn't matter. Here we set it, and we will assert that next to the ID is returned by service create. And we also assert that valid to do was created in the repository. So we haven't created a getter for that. So let's create it. So to do data created to the like that. Created to do like that. Okay, let's create valid to do's. So valid to do's, and what we have here, guys, we have to do data, some to do with description, I mean without, and let's have some description. Let's have some description. Okay. Let's actually also factor that. So minimum, I mean maximum length +1, and max description +1. Okay. Let's run the test that I have refactored, and let's run create given valid to do test. Okay, obviously it failed because okay, because we don't have it implemented. Here I had too short name. Alright. Didn't call it, so right now all we have to do is to say to the repository create, and that should be it. Okay, here we have it. So I think that's all for create method actually. Same will be for update and delete. So maybe let's do update also. Okay, so let's do update. It will be pretty similar to that actually. So we can copy that like that and say update given invalid to do should throw exception actually. Yeah, but what's the difference? We need to pass it ID also. Okay, so there will be also a difference. So how we expect it to behave if to do doesn't exist? That's a good question, actually. For now, I would say that we don't care. I think we will validate it and then check if it exists. That's actually simpler, I believe. So if that's the case, we need something like that. Okay, obviously it fails. So I would start with validate TODO, and here this will work. Yeah. And then it's up to us to decide whether we should test if TODO exists or not. I don't think we need it, to be honest. Yeah. Let's see. If we were to create a method like that. So ID and TODO. Yeah, update and create update. Yeah, I don't think so that we need it. Let's just say that right now we will not test for existence because yeah, if it doesn't exist, it will not be updated. So I think we don't care. Updated TODO and updated TODO ID. We need something like that. So updated TODO ID, updated TODO. Okay, and let's say public updated TODO ID. Updated TODO ID and updated TODO. Updated TODO. Okay. Right. And what do we need, guys, in our tests? We have invalid update given invalid should throw exception. Right now we say that update given valid TODO updates it. Okay, and actually we can also reuse that. So also, yeah, we can. Why not? And, let's say TODO data valid TODO ID something, right? And service update TODO ID valid TODO, and here we will just say that TODO ID is the same that repository has received, and same for updated TODO. Okay, let's run it. Red, okay, because we didn't call it. So let's call it, and it should work. Okay, it works. So let's do delete. Yeah, delete will be very simple, because all we have to do is to say that delete let's say should, because it's our convention, and delete really should delegate call to repository. Maybe given to the ID should delegate call to repository, something like that. Okay, and let's create delete method like that. Here let's add it, and private log deleted to the ID to validate it like that. Okay. Deleted to the ID accessor like that. Let's get here and let's say that to the ID, something like that. Let's delete it, and let's assert that repository has received basic, and nothing more. Yeah, we didn't call it, so let's call it like that. Okay, here we have it. So we have filters to implement, but this everything I think we'll do in the next round. So let's call all tests again. Okay, they pass. Let's see, can we refactor something? I think it's enough for now. What we can do actually is to use it in a runtime. Besides having it here, but to do that we need to have implementation of TODO repository. We have faked it, but we would need to have something, and a normal code, not test code. So let's create infrastructure package and create in-memory repository. We'll not test it because we throw it away next time. So let's quickly implement it in memory TODO repository. It will implement TODO repository, right? Let's not implement it for now, but let's say that here and TODO controller we will depend on TODO service actually, like that. Service. Okay, and we will delegate calls to it. So here let's refactor it to something like that. TODO service, TODO. Okay, now for now let's do a comment TODO implement filters, and here TODOs as previously. Here we will just say that new TODO ID service create actually, like that. here, what do we need? Service update. That. And service delete. Okay, now code will not compile because we need to have the service here, so let's create it. To do service, new to do service. So dependency injection, by the way, without container we are doing here. Yeah, but to do service needs to have to do repository. Okay, so to do repository, new to do repository, I mean implementation. Okay, and the code will compile, but it will not work obviously because we are not doing here anything. So if we run our integration tests again, they will all fail, right? Not all, because we have some exceptions here, but it's pretty nice if you think about it, that our tests are failing. So they are saying us something important, that we have broke the code. We have broken the code. Okay, so here let's implement something quickly. We will not test it because we will get rid of that. So we have to-dos, and let's return to-dos. Create next ID. We need to have a variable for next ID, like that. Here let's add to do ID, next ID, get an increment, let's return it, and name, let's map to data to do. Okay, so maybe let's do this a little differently. So let's have a map actually. It will be easier. And let's have a linked hash map, which will be sorted. Okay, and here we will do something like that. To the values. Link hash map is sorted according to the insertion order. So it's the same as array list or linked list and so forth. And here we need to say to this put ID and this one. Okay. What do you want? Yeah. Long, not string. Here update will be very simple. So maybe create to do from data method, because we will use it more than once. Okay. To do from data like that, and update. What do we need for update? We simply need to put it, and that's it. Delete, very simple. Remove. Okay, so now our tests should work. They work. Okay, so let's run all tests again. Here we have it. Yeah, so I think we wrap it up, guys. We have moved code from to-do controller to to-do service. We have implemented and all with tests, but without filters, and again in memory. So we need to implement this get endpoint with the filters. Then we need to use real database. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we will do this next time. See ya!